he's actually more accurate and better.
Oh yeah.
Than,
I just can't afford tens of thousands of dollars for one piece of
No,
equipment
for
right
your
now.
first machine, no. And you'll be surprised
Yeah.
how much even your first machine would stay in use.
Oh yeah.
Gentlemen, we're live.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mike. Do your preface.
No, it's fine. So. Hello, welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network, presented by Prairie Arms. So, how's everybody doing?
If we could stop playing Tiddly with Nick's big round head.
Yeah, but it's fun. Oh.
Then he closes it off. Okay. Yeah, doing okay over here.
Yeah, we're good here in North Carolina.
Doing good here in Wyoming. We finally got some warmer weather and we're not in negative degrees anymore.
Who the hell let that scum from Wyoming in?
I did. Want to fight about it?
Yeah.
I made an extra payment in Patreon, Jim.
Okay. Well, when you talk money, you're all right. Anyway.
Yeah, you sent that cold weather this way. Although it got up to 20 degrees today, so, heat wave.
It got down to 26 last night. I froze my buns off.
Well, I'm sure you did.
It got down to 26, not up.
Pansy.
Yeah, you say that. You know damn good well I've seen 30 below up in Pennsylvania.
Yes, you have.
Okay.
Michael Dunn's SHOT Show is next week.
Stay tuned, y'all, because Mike is probably going to be in and out on YouTube Live.
Yep. And not only me, but Nick and Ray.
Are you guys all traveling together?
No, they're flying.
Oh.
So.
Yeah, I got a funeral Friday, so I wouldn't be able to drive anyway.
Yeah. Alrighty. So, what did everybody do in the last week or so? Anything exciting?
Nah, nothing exciting.
Yeah.
No.
I wish Andy 79 G28 was on, because he'd be tickled with what he's about to see. Just know this, Andy. I just gave you a big old shout out. What I did was this. I made myself a 6-inch deep, 6-inch diameter.
Mortar?
Ruler. Yeah, it's a mortar. We're going to fill it with black powder. Put a piece of steel on top of it and see how far it flies.
There you go.
And it's 7 inches deep. Excuse the gloves. I don't want to get caught with the sharp edges. 7 inches deep. Yeah, I know.
You're supposed to sand that thing.
No, you don't sand it. I forgot to do the inside. Welded it. Yeah, there's a pretty good weld on there.
Better than I could do.
Yeah, deburred the corners.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, I imagine that'll hold an ounce or 7 of I started to say lead.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vem Gem, yes sir. It's a new pot. But the reason why I mentioned Andy 79 Z28 is because that no good rascal has gotten me into the idea of casting zinc bullets. Zinc bullets. So
nice.
What this is, that's a pot for, it's right here under my finger. I know you can't see it, but that's the way it goes. Anyway, It's going to be used for rendering zinc wheel weights. I'm going to have to modify my turkey fire a little bit to take and help focus the flame under the pot itself, trying to get some more heat into it, because last time I tried melting zinc, I wound up making a mess with my pot.
Yeah.
And anyway, so
yeah, it definitely can be messy.
Well, I'm going to have to heat the pot up itself, the 8-inch pot, heat it up big and bad, and dig all the crap that's in there, and break it down, put it in this little pot here, smaller pot. 6-inch
Yeah.
pot's not a little pot.
Yep.
But and John's Handloading, good to see you. Good to see you. He asked me earlier. You're right, John. I believe zinc has to be cast at about 865. That's why I mentioned Andy's 79 Z28, Paul Loud. Appreciate the thought. But anyway, there you go, John. But let's see. Who was that kid's name I just emailed? Let's see here. Luke Walter. I sent him a copy of this ladder load spreadsheet.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, Steve McNall, you've heard me use that name. God may rest in peace. He created that spreadsheet for me a long time ago. I've shared it out generously. I never once tried to take credit for it.
Awesome.
But no, if anybody wants a copy of that ladder load spreadsheet, all you gotta do is get a hold of me. I don't make it a big secret or don't hide from anybody. If you want to just email me, it's FlemingJim1953@gmail.com. But anyway, so back to the pot. I'm going to do some cleaning up. Some of those. I bought 1,000 pounds of wheel weights. Unfortunately, that was back up when I went up to Cortland, New York, and wound up buying it from a friend that lives up in there. And unfortunately, he didn't realize he had so much zinc mixed into it. So I got to go through all that mess and separate the steel from the zinc and the zinc from the lead by hand. Fortunately, steel separates with a magnet. You get a nice, strong, rare earth magnet, pick all the crap out.
That does not sound fun at all.
Nope. But pair of not channel locks, pair of Dyke side cutting pliers, they'll work wonders when it comes to telling you what you got. Steel, lead, or zinc. Daniel Anderson, that's exactly where I went that time I went up to Cortland, New York. He was asking about the Reddington operation up there.
Yep.
That's what I did. How about you, Nick? What'd you do, bud?
I had a couple products come in. I had my Frankfurt Arsenal rotary tumbler that I ordered for a real good price. Also, our EP integrations annealer came in. So I'll be doing a review on that probably the first week of February after SHOT Show. So other than that, that's about it.
How about you, Chris?
Well, reloaded some 338 Lapua for a friend because I sold one of my Lapuas.
You sold a gun?
Yeah, I did to make room for the build that I was telling Mike that I'm looking at doing. I'm wanting to build a 375 Chi-Tac. So free up some capital and jump up to the bigger stuff.
You're going to spend big boy stuff.
Yeah. And then I finally got my 6mm arc dies in. So now if I can just get the bullets I want, I can start doing load development for that.
How about you, Paul?
No, I haven't done much this week. I've been like Chris looking at online trying to find some bullets. It's just been, I got some powder in, but it's 1 8-pound jug, but I haven't been able to find any bullets lately.
Yeah.
So, I did get 8 pounds of H-4350. Arm, leg, and firstborn went out with that one. I spent a little money and I got a new neck turning screwdriver.
There's nothing wrong with that, Paul.
No. It just makes it easier to turn necks and trim cases that I need. But trying to find from Sierra, even talking to Sierra, The 1530, my 6mm 85 grain Whitetail hollow point. They don't know when they're going to make a run of them. So, trying to decide what I should run in my 6XC. This year.
Nice.
How about you, Mikey? What'd you do this week, if anything?
Pretty much work.
Yeah, but that's not the same thing, Mike. You're around gun just when you walk in the store.
Yeah. So, yeah, pretty much work. That's about it. Somehow I managed to pack more stuff in this room instead of getting stuff out of here. So, but
Murphy's
after I get back
probably
from SHOT Show, then it'll get cleared out and straightened up more. So, but yeah, other than that, not much on my end. So, all right. So tonight we're talking about.
Sorry, Mike. I wanted to say something more to John's hand loading, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
John, the thing is, when I start casting that zinc, I'll be using steel molds. Maybe I might try using a brass mold once, see if it works or not. But I'll be using my steel mold because I don't want to risk damaging the aluminum molds I have. Okay, sorry. Go back over to you, Mike.
No, it's fine. So, all right. So we've talked about shotgun. Yeah. We'll take a second to talk about Patriot Patch Company and the new patch of the month. You ain't ready for this, Yeti. So, Yeti on a snow sled with a 1911. So,
good taste in handguns.
yeah.
I got one, but I'll tell you what. I think there's better guns out there.
I think everybody should have a 1911.
I don't disagree.
So, but
problem is, all them other plastic things are just staple guns.
I've heard the Glock called block more than once by a good friend.
Glock, the Black and Decker of handguns.
But see, here's the thing: is you got to have variety. So you have 1911s and Glocks.
That's a little bit of variety.
And some M&Ps maybe. But you got to throw that trigger out and get an Apex trigger because M&P Smith & Wesson for some reason doesn't know how to make a decent trigger in a semi-auto.
Neither does Ruger.
Actually, I would say the stock trigger in the SRs is a hell of a lot better than any of the M&P series.
But you get in the older, Smith & Wessons, semi-autos, the aluminum frames and that. They're good. They got a good trigger in them.
Mm-hmm.
They could always be tuned, but
Yeah, if you get the metal.
Yeah, metal frames.
Ones.
Yeah,
metal frames. The plastic ones suck, but
the old 39s and 59s, and those. Us old guys, we go back to those and remember, and you want a real good one, the 52.
Yep.
That had a good trigger in it.
Mm-hmm. Or we could get a 41 series.
Yeah.
We got one in 22 at work right now, but I'm not paying $1,300 for that dang thing.
Was it what kind of barrel it is on it and everything else? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, has it got the big underlug heavy barrel on it and the fancy grip on it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's got the target grip and it's got the fancier barrel.
Okay. So
I'm
that
still
was
not
all-
paying that much for it. It's worth it. I'm just not paying that much for it. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the stuff that made that gun famous, was because
Right.
you could on the other end you had the Colt Woodsman, with came with this thin barrel and nothing else. And Smith and Wesson, you could get adjustable weights. You could put it out as far as wherever you wanted.
Yep.
The grip was basically you could have ordered just a wood block for a grip and carved it out yourself. No, I mean that's
Ain't
just
that
way
the
it
truth?
was. Yeah.
So.
So.
Oh yeah. So we talked about handgun. We talked about shot shell. We talked about woods hunting. So that leaves open hunting. We're not getting into dangerous game just because that's a whole different thing. And we could talk about bullets on choices for dangerous game by literally the game itself, using different bullet styles for different. So we're not going there. What we're talking about tonight is we're talking about everything from prairie dogs on up to elk.
Okay.
Something you're going to be shooting at a distance. And by distance, I mean more than 200 yards.
Well, it also depends upon the class of hunting critter you're hunting.
Right.
There's a guy right there on the bottom of my screen who lives in antelope country.
Yep.
What's a long shot on antelope, Chris, out there?
Out here, easily
Long
600 yards, 700.
Yeah, okay. The question I got is, how far do you have to lead the animal when he's on a full run, going right to left, left to right, doesn't matter. Dead run. You have to know how fast the animal's going. You have to know where that animal's going to be when that bullet gets there. So let's say, what caliber are we going to use? We'll just use one of your Weatherby's. How about 240 Weatherby, 25 caliber, 25 bore Weatherby?
I don't own one of those, so.
I know. I'm directing it towards Paul, but these are things that have to be factored in. If you're going to do that kind of hunting.
I mean, who's going to shoot at a running antelope going 60 friggin' miles an hour? Okay.
Not me.
Yeah, not me either.
Exactly.
And so, no. But if
I won't even shoot at running whitetail.
If he's at 700 yards and he's standing there, okay, then we can sit down and talk about a bullet and gun combination that would work.
There we go. We got one right there. Elk Blood, the guy who lives out there, Elk Blood 01. You don't shoot running antelope.
Correct.
That's simple as that. All right.
Even at 200 yards out here, I wouldn't even look at shooting a running antelope if they're full bore out. Just too much for pain.
John said he won't shoot a running rabbit. Well, if I've got a shotgun, I will. But that's a whole different story. We're not talking about shot shell. We're talking about rifle.
Seems like 100 yards full out. You got to aim like 14 feet in front of the animal.
I'm not sure. I've never. Go ahead.
I was going to say something else you got to consider too, Jim, is even if you are shooting at an animal that's on the run, what are your atmosphere? Like out here in Wyoming, we get high wind. So you got to factor that in. Yep. Everything else that goes, it can be ugly.
This guy said it right there. He said it. I'll put him up again. You don't shoot running antelope.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is the one that you really have to understand from Elk Blood.
Yeah.
And this is, they taste like if they've been running.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that goes for any of the critters.
Yeah. So. No, it's first off, you have to be ethical.
Oh man. You know, if he didn't contribute so much good stuff to the show, and you just looked at these type of comments, you'd swear he was a troll. But he's not. That's the funny thing. So, sorry. Now, what were you saying, Paul?
I just wondered, if we're shooting a big game animal or a large, medium to large game animal running, is that, it's not ethical.
No.
So, that's just that. It's you want to shoot a running jackrabbit, with a rifle, have at it. You want to shoot a coyote, doing, giving you a Texas heart shot at 700 yards, have at it. Not a big deal. But no, a deer, antelope, elk, no, but we're here to talk about bullets.
Yep. So prairie dogs.
And loads. Prairie dogs. Okay. And we're talking now yardage now. We're not talking, the normal, 223, 300 yards, 22, 250, 400 yards. We're talking, 500-600 yards.
Yeah. 22, 250, 400 yards is like 100 yards with pretty much anything else. So
yeah, chip shot.
Yeah. So let's say we've got a 223 and we're looking at 6.
And you're looking at 6, and you're going to be running probably a 77 grain bullet, which is what I would be using for that. And I like the Sierra, and I like the Burger in the 77 grains. And almost
why such a heavy bullet?
Because usually where you're going to hunt prairie dogs, your wind is on the average anywhere between 10 to 30 miles an hour during the day. So you have a lot of wind to try. You need a bullet that fights the wind. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the 223 does not have a lot of velocity to help you fight the wind. But you can, you're using a high BC bullet can get you out there. So 77 grain bullet. The dog doesn't usually explode, real fancy for 600 yard shot, and you just gonna have to know your dope and hold for wind.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're looking at. Me, if I wasn't in 223, if I was using a 6mm, say a 243, I would want like an 85 grain bullet.
Okay.
And then
so for the 243, you actually go with a lighter grain bullet.
I go with an 85 grain bullet at 600 yards, and I want to push my velocity up there. So I'm looking at 3,200 feet per second, which I can't get out of a 223 with a good ballistic coefficient.
Right.
So with a 6, I can do that. I can push an 85 grain bullet with a 350 BC, and it will fight the wind better for me. I can get it up to that 3,200 feet per second, and I can pretty much shoot a prairie dog at that range, barring my normal misses for wind and everything else. But you drop down to lighter bullets. I mean, in a 22 Hornet.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Go down, drop to a 40 grain bullet. Try shooting a prairie dog at 300 yards with a 22 Hornet. With a 40 grain flat base bullet.
Mm-hmm.
you're starting to run into some challenge. Again, you don't get the big fancy explosion of the prairie dog, but it works.
Yeah, I mean, if we're out there for prairie dogs, I guess the thing is, yeah, kind of have to decide if you want the fancy explosions and stuff. Then you're talking, something with a lot more energy. If you just
Right.
want the prairie dog dead, then
Yeah.
which is the main goal of hunting prairie dogs, is to make them dead,
Right.
because they're very destructive.
Then moving up, 25 calibers. I'm looking at between 90 and 100 grain bullet, and 25-06 or so.
Yeah.
Again, keep trying to keep that a balance between it. I can move up to 308 is about as large as I go.
Yeah.
For closer in shots and the nice explosion in 308, Spear makes a 125 grain varmint bullet that's you can buy cheap, and it shoots. But then again, I moved to a Nosler 155 grain bullet for the longer range shots.
Yeah.
And try to go that way. And there are people out there like Chris that go out there with 338 Lapuas and shoot prairie dogs at 1,200, 1,300 yards. So
That's an expensive shot, though.
Yeah, that's when you try to line them up.
What isn't expensive in prairie dog hunting nowadays? I mean,
So obviously the biggest thing with prairie dog hunting is you shoot one, they all dive. You got to wait for them to come back up. Now, being out a farther distance, does that help lessen that time in between shots then?
Sometimes they don't even move. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
there's been numerous times I've been shooting prairie dogs that distance out here, and they're further out. Someone will just looking like, hey, what happened to this guy?
Yeah. It just depends. I mean, a real close miss, where you're kicking dirt up in front of them. Yeah, okay, they'll move, but they don't know what happened, so they'll run to a hole and then all of a sudden stand up.
Yeah,
and you got to pick it, and you're just, okay, I made a mistake. All right, what did I do wrong? And adjust your windage and elevation and try again. You get used to turning dials and playing, your wind factor putting wind factor into your gun. I'll sit down and say, I got a good, if it's blowing between 10 and 20 miles an hour, I may sit down and put in what I call a 12 or 13 mile an hour wind, and watch what happens, as I shoot to move over or whatever, and then make my elevation adjustments because they're easier.
Yeah.
So it's good scopes. It's that kind of stuff makes a difference in shooting prairie dogs. You don't need a first focal plane scope for prairie dog hunting. You can do it with a good second focal plane. And the only thing that I think is big into it is good barrels. Good barrels are gonna make a difference in your shooting and your cleaning.
Yeah.
Oh, Michael Dunn says silencers keep it quiet. Yes, silencers are great. I was from Illinois. I'm now in Indiana. I can buy a silencer here now, so that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Lead bullet junkie. Remington 788 and 222. Yeah, You got the ammo, but no rifle. Okay. 788 with a Timmy or a Kanjar trigger is a cheap way to go and get into prairie dog shooting. Barrels are easy to take off and put on. The gun itself is a strong rear action rear lug bolt, kind of like Weatherby with the multi-lug design, but just reversed. Instead of having the lugs up in front, they put the lugs on the back. Yeah, it's a great gun. Just needs a good trigger. A lot of the trigger they put into it is a piece of junk. So you go with Timmy, or the old days you went with Kanjar when they were still around, and they made a set trigger for it, and it was a dynamite trigger. I don't know if anybody's ever used a set trigger here.
Yeah. My buddy actually, his 257 Weatherby has a Kanjar set trigger on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing, but it definitely needs to be a little more attention given.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty easy to accidentally tap that blade.
Yeah. You kick you push, you gentlemen and ladies out there, you take the trigger and you gently push a little blade forward on that trigger, and it comes out, looks like a Glock dingus, and and then you don't touch it. You just kind of put your hand across the rifle and you bring your finger up to it and you go, and that's it. It's just a light brush and it goes off.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I think 4 ounces is the trigger pull.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absurd. So the first time I ever shot that rifle, we were at the range and it was locked down in the bench in the lead sled. And as I was going to, you know how sometimes when you go and you readjust, I was going to readjust.
A bit nuts. Do you have to clean up after a prairie dog shoot? No.
Coyotes will.
Yeah.
Which leads into your next hunt.
Exactly. That's what my point was going to be. You just wait for the coyotes to show up and then you take them out.
Yeah, usually that evening.
Yep. So.
Yeah, crows will clean up the mess too. It's just I've seen rattlesnakes out there taking dead prairie dogs. Yeah. So, bullet construction, BC, and really playing with the wind and know how to shoot into the wind with the wind that's out there at the time.
Yeah.
And that's your hardest part, because as Chris will say, it never stops blowing when you're out there shooting prairie dogs.
Nope. And I wouldn't worry about if somebody's thinking about, is it, like we use Hornady, should I use an EDLX or a match bullet? When you're talking prairie dog, it doesn't really matter.
No.
Honestly, because it's not like something you're going to try to skin and clean and fry up or anything.
Yeah.
Please don't touch them. They are known carriers of bubonic plague.
Yeah.
Get your tongs. If you want to get a trophy picture of it, you can. Unless you're into the splat. And there are some guys that are very much into the splat and keep their ranges shorter. but they don't get as much opportunity, and they have to consistently move to shoot prairie dogs. Um, if you're okay at shooting at 4, 5, 6, 700 yards, you can shoot all day long from one place without too much of a problem. You like to shoot at shorter ranges, 200, 300 yards, you're going to move around quite a bit.
So basically, when you're thinking about this, you want to take into consideration that and where you're hunting, because you may not be able to get a shot like that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Bit nuts, we saw you. Thanks, bud. That's why you got your handle a bit nuts.
So yeah. All right. So we're on to antelope, Chris. What cartridges? What bullet construction or bullet weights?
For me here, I've been using my 308 mostly for my antelope, and I'm using a 168 grain.
Okay.
I've had really good results. It does fairly well in the wind. As most people know, 308 is, especially when you're looking at wind, it's definitely going to give you the learning ability of how to call wind, adjust. That's why I think you see a lot of the competitive shooters have gone away from 308 unless they're talking like a tactical division or something like that. They've gone to the, like Paul's saying, the more higher BC, slicker bullets, stuff like that. But it's done pretty well here. I know I've got friends that have done 6mm at distance, 6.5 cartridges at distance. I lean more towards that whatever game I'm hunting, I don't want to run the chance of shooting something, it not dropping and running off to die later and suffering. So I kind of will end up with maybe a larger caliber than you would probably really need, but I want to make sure I have enough energy that when I engage that target, it drops.
Most definitely.
Specific type of bullet?
I've tried some Sierras. I've tried a few burgers. I tend to have a little bit better luck with the Hornady EDLXs. I know some people I've heard like, well, I've shot this with an EDLX and it didn't get good penetration or whatever, or the wound cavity wasn't there. But I've had pretty good luck with them. I've done hunting with match bullets. I've dropped a few elk with match bullets, and really haven't had issues with that either.
Paul Loud's taking shots at you now, Chris.
I expect it.
Yep.
It's all right. He's got years of therapy because this is the second time I've been on the show, so it all's got to balance out.
There we go.
Bad.
So what are you looking at for average distance for antelope?
Well, here in Wyoming, like just on my property, we've got 58 acres. So if I hunt on my property, I'm probably looking at 300-400 yards. But if I go up on my brother-in-law's ranch, depending on the pasture you're in, well, you can see the antelope out there, a good mile. Not that I would take a shot, but I'd say probably average around here. You're probably talking 500-600 yards. You could probably get a good shot if you got the right caliber.
Yeah, you're probably not doing that with a 308.
No.
Too much drop.
Yep. if I were to consider taking a shot that far out,
Mhm.
I would probably jump up to that 300 PRC. I think the pool would definitely be overkill,
Yeah.
but
Even
it would easily do it. Just
Yeah.
maybe looking at dropping down to say a 225 grain bullet or something like that.
Mhm.
You were
So,
talking about using match bullets for hunting game. That sounds like one particular police officer that I knew of. He told me that's what his department buys for his duty ammo, as he calls it.
well, I mean, you're talking about using match specifically for, say, antelope,
Yeah,
right?
I'm talking about using match for police work.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a difference between that.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Pronghorn's probably a lot tougher to drop down than the typical
Well,
policeman's target.
a policeman has a responsibility of one shot, and it ends the situation that it's there.
Right.
A hunter has a responsibility one shot, one kill to kill the game, and so there are other bullets that are out there that for antelope that would work fine. I mean, Nosler makes their ballistic tips. Berger makes their bullets. They're all based on cup and core.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I'd be sitting there saying, you know, the difference in accuracy between some of those bullets, it depends depending upon the gun. They're barely any. Okay, and we are now because our match bullets are so much better manufactured than what they were. There's a lot of people that don't do things that I still do.
Mhm.
The point bullets and everything else
Right.
that they don't need to be done anymore. I mean, we got plastic tip, aluminum tip bullets now that can't be pointed.
Yep.
We have Berger is out there, saying that their match bullets are, don't need to be pointed anymore. That they're so, they're so controlled now in their production.
Mhm.
Okay, so and they're we're just talking about their hunting bullets, and it's a cup and core bullet. Um, do we need to move to a solid copper or solid bullet, an expandable solid bullet, or I don't. It wouldn't be a solid bullet. It would be an expandable, uh, single constructed bullet for antelope, Chris.
Are you talking kind of like the new CX bullets, or maybe like something from Warner or one of the
Yeah.
other companies?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I haven't really had a chance to shoot them because I've looked at one and get some of those solid bullets to bring in for the magnums I have, because I kind of want to see what they'll do. I've obviously, you can get on the internet and there's plenty of reviews. I think it definitely has it potential, and obviously, if it didn't, people wouldn't be making them. You wouldn't sell a bunch of them. I kind of look at it as if I find something that works, whether it's a true hunting bullet or it's a match bullet or if it's a solid bullet, I'm not going to change what I'm doing. I'm just going to load that and keep going with it. Unless the manufacturer decides they're not going to carry that line, then I'm going to actually look at something different.
Mm-hmm.
But you also got to look at the state. Like I think you guys were talking about last week. If you're in California, Well, you can't use something that's got a lead core.
Right.
You have to go with that solid. So you can't even, I don't even think you'd probably get in trouble if you went to, say, Vegas, picked up some lead core bullets and brought them back in. And if you got caught by Game and Fish, you'd probably have one heck of a fine.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're that
Yeah.
serious about it now. It's like
So-
getting caught with lead shot while you're out waterfowl hunting.
Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna sit down and you know and try to decide. I mean, you know, I know this is a new area for, you know, for the last 15 years they've been having copper, you know,
Yeah.
copper or a bronze bullet or whatever you want that expands. But two things that I see with it are the BCs are not as high, but they're a longer bullet, so you need a faster twist to get them to run.
Yeah.
But then again, I sit down and I turn around and I watch the you know, these guys that are shooting, you know, the king of 2 miles and that they are using solid bullets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and from my research, when I started looking at the solid bullets, I think one thing you mentioned is you have to go with a faster twist, because those bullets, from what I've seen, typically they're going to be a lot longer to get that same result of the heavier bullets that are normal construction.
So we got faster twist barrels, but then again, even in target shooting, we're sitting there looking at faster twist. 6mm, we all used to sit down and say 1 in 10 for a 243 was great. Remington came out with 1 in 9 for their 6mm Remington after they flopped with the 244 with the 1 in 12. 6.5, you're running you know, most people are running an 8 twist or a 7.5 twist barrel. You know, same thing with 6. You're down in the 7s and that. 308, we're even with 308, we're sitting there, you know, talking 1 in 10 twists now instead of 1 in 12 or 1 in 11 that we used to run. Not a big change, but there's a change there.
Yeah. Well, and that comes with the change in technology as the bullets manufacturers develop stuff that you're getting that higher BC. You have to adjust your barrel twist rate to be able to stabilize that. Because if you go, like, take the 308, if you went 1 in 12, well, it's probably tested over time, you're limiting yourself from shooting certain bullets.
Sure. Yeah.
223 is another quality example of that. 223 556. I had a guy that came in and he'd bought a Remington bolt action in 223, and he was complaining about it, and we sat there and started talking about it, and he wasn't really knowledgeable, but whoever was at the range with him seemed to be, because he said they were keyholing. I'm like, okay, so what do you mean by keyholing? Because when you get somebody that you don't know what they know, you got to try and figure it out. So I'm sitting there talking with him for a bit, figured out that yes, he's actually talking about what we consider keyholing. The bottom line, Remington's rifles in 223 Rem are all 1 in 12 twist. Well, he's sitting here trying to shove 69 and 72 grain factory projectiles down that barrel. And that's why it was keyholing. Now, if you're hand loading and you're hopping that speed up, you can get away with that. But if you're running factory ammo, you can't run a bullet that heavy down a 1 in 12 twist barrel.
22 250 is an old one. Everybody sits down and looks at it, and it's got a 1 in 14 twist. Okay.
Yep.
You cannot run a 55 grain boat tail bullet in it and expect it to shoot well.
No,
it just won't happen. You got to run a flat face bullet.
Yeah.
So, Sierra a long time ago made a 63 grain round, almost a round nose bullet in 22. So you could shoot a heavy bullet in 22 250 that had a minimum of bearing surface and was short enough that it stabilized.
Yeah.
1 in 14 twist. But nowadays you're going to sit down and say, okay, either I got to shoot a 50 grain or a 45 grain bullet in order for a 22 250 to be stabilized, or crank it off, send it, and put a new barrel on.
Yep.
And get it to something that's reasonable. 1 in 9. If you're going up to in the 62 to 69 grain, or 1 in 8 will take you up to 77.
Mm-hmm.
And anything over that, you got a 7 twist and whatever, and and go from there. With the 80 grainers and above.
Yeah.
So diminishing returns at the same time.
Yeah.
You're not getting the velocity that the 22 250 was known for, and the reason it came to be.
Right.
I think what some people can realize is that in this day and age, when a cartridge comes out, if you've got a question on will this bullet stabilize, there are companies like Burger that have their little chart that you can plug in your bullet, your barrel twist rate, and it'll let you know if it's going to stabilize. A good example where you might have a major manufacturer could be making barrels for a company on their spec, which goes against who designed that cartridge. Example I'm thinking of that right now is when that 6 Arc came out, everybody probably saw Brownells had a Faxon exclusive 1 in 8 twist barrel for that 6 Arc. As a Faxon dealer, I asked my rep, I'm like, hey, what's the deal? When are we going to see these? He's like, that was a specific 1 in 8 for them. We don't recommend a 1 in 8. We recommend a 1 in 7.5 or a 1 in 7 because you're going to be able to stabilize or guarantee you'll stabilize those 103s, the 105s, and 108s that Hornady built that arc around. So, I mean, if you got questions, just call the bullet manufacturer up. Hey, is this going to work or is am I off base? They're going to let you know because they want you to be happy at the end of the day. They don't want complaints that this bullet's crap.
Exactly, and that's what'll happen if it's odd. It's just like that guy didn't know any better. He was blaming the rifle. He said the rifle was crap, which to be honest, it was a Freedom Group Remington. So, but that wasn't the problem in this case. So, Otter Sigerson wants to know, what's your opinion on the max bullet weight for a 308 24-inch barrel 1 in 12 twist?
You can go up to 200 grain bullet with the 1 in 12 twist, but it's going to be a round nose.
Right.
And
so what are you thinking? Probably 175?
Yeah, I can shoot a 175 and a Bowtail hollow point. I can hang on a sec.
Well, Paul's doing that. Andy Z29, I'm sorry, Andy 79 Z28. Got something for you here, bub. You know what I'm doing. You know what I'm looking at. I made a new pot just for you, just because of you. Just because of you, Andy.
All right. So, whitetail at distance. We're talking like beanfield whitetails, so 200, 400 yards, that type of thing. What are we looking at?
I'd shoot my 243 all day long at that distance.
Yep.
That's what most of the guys that come in that go hunting over Missouri or Indiana, they buy ammo for their rifles. They're shooting that same kind of thing. 270, 243. I think 270s isn't. I would agree with Chris. 243 is the way to go for that.
So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the standard is looking at like 243. I mean, you could even go 25-06. I don't know enough about the Bob to say if you could or not. I would suspect so. But I'm definitely taking 223 out of the picture at that point in time. 30-30's out of the picture. I mean, you could, if you want to go something heavier, you could go 300 Win Mag. I don't know if I go 308, 30-06, because at 400, that's a pretty steep drop. I'd probably want something a little flatter shooting, maybe like a nice 7. So,
I mean, you could probably go maybe that new 6.5 PRC.
Yeah.
Because I think you can go, 153 grains on that?
I'm not sure. I don't know enough about that one.
So
you know, 153 grains on that. And going back to that 308, I ran a 200 grain Sierra Match King 2230 bullet, and as long as you can stay over 2,500 feet per second, you'll be stable on my calculator.
Okay.
So, you know, something I was thinking about earlier, Mike, when we were talking about this long range selection of calibers, is something people need to take into account is while, like for here in Wyoming, we can, pretty much hunt with anything we want. You have to look at the state you're going at. Because if you're like, if I'm traveling to wherever, well, some states it's straight.
So you go south
cartridge.
of state. Go south of state from you, and you're limited.
Yep. Go down to Colorado. They say minimum of this caliber or this or that, and so you kind of that might help somebody select the caliber too. Is research where you're looking at hunting.
Yep.
Because if you're limited, you might I've got a whole bunch in my safe. I may not be able to use that in that state.
Right. Or maybe you're stuck like Ohio or Fibland, where you're stuck straight wall cartridge.
Indiana.
Oh, you're stuck too? Well, then you should probably get your 350 Legend or 4570.
So I can still hunt with my 30 Herrick.
Oh, there you go.
We're even worse. We're strictly shotgun.
Yeah.
Well, you know what Illinois' state motto is. Bohica.
Yep, it's crazy.
For those of you who don't know what Bohica is, bend over. Here it comes again. That's Illinois' state motto.
Not quite, but we're close. You're very, very, very close.
No. It's
I don't know if anybody saw Chico Wise's video today. That explains the state of Illinois for you.
No, I haven't seen that yet.
It's pretty funny.
Illinois is where your license plates get made by your governor.
For three administrations in a row.
Yep. So
Oh. Well, hi, Ollie.
We do very well in corruption, and we try to keep it, in house, and make sure the people are drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
And as long as the government keeps giving the people something for free,
Yep.
Illinois will be the way it is.
Well, I don't know if you heard about the new information, Paul, but the new FOID cards that are coming out this year in 2022 will not have an expiration date.
Yes, and they will not notify you that you are going to be. It will expire.
It's
So,
What?
I know
Yes.
it's gonna be crazy.
So
Yeah.
I hate that for one reason only, because that means anybody with a new FOID card, we have to have their driver's license and their FOID card to have them fill out a 4473, because the FOID card worked before because it had your name, your address, your photo, and the basic information required for 4473. Now, without an expiration date, which is part of the federal requirement, you can't use it for the 4473 anymore.
Exactly.
Jackasses.
And it's like, I don't know how we're gonna do this, Handgun. It's the same exact information.
So I'm thinking I'm going to have to give Illinois a Wisconsin highway salute.
Yeah.
You're not going anywhere near Illinois when you're on your trip. You're going to go over Minnesota, cut down onto.
No, I'm going through idiots out wandering around land.
Okay. But
No, Michael
yeah.
Hurtnick, that's the catch. It will still expire. It just
10
won't have the
years.
expiration date on it.
Right.
Yeah, they're forcing us to remember our own date when we applied for it. Hopefully, it has the issue date.
Oh,
the nice thing about
it will have the issue date on it. Okay.
nice thing about that is once you know your issue date, it's 10 years from then.
Yeah.
So it's pretty easy to remember it.
Yeah.
Void's 10 years, our CCW's 5.
Yep. Vemgem, now, yes. Most of your 308s are 1 in 10 twist. If you go back 20, 30 years, most of it was 1 in 12.
Yeah.
Which Vemgem, depending on where you are in the States, you're probably going to, like, I run into a lot of 1 in 12s
He's
because
down under.
those rifles have been passed off from family to family throughout the generations. So, it's probably their great grandfather's stuff. So you'll see a lot of them, certain areas in the States.
The military with the 308 made some changes when they first came out with the M1, or excuse me, the M14.
Mm-hmm.
They went to a 1 in 11 twist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the match barrel in mine over there has a 1 in 11 twist.
Yeah.
1 in 12 was what a Grand had, okay, because of the 150 grain flat base bullets that they were using.
Yeah.
308 changed to a 150 grain boat tail bullet, or 147, between a 147 and 150 grain bullet, boat tailed. So they changed it to 1 in 11 because they wanted, remember, the 14 was going to be used as a squad automatic weapon, which it never could do. And they wanted a longer range out of it. So you ran into that issue, and again, as bullets have gotten longer, twist rates have increased, and because the shooters have demanded a better bullet.
Right.
We're all part of the reason why there are better bullets out there from the manufacturers, reloaders.
Yeah.
it isn't. It sure isn't the best bench rest community. Shooting at 200 yards. Okay. When they take their 73 grain 6mm bullet with flat base on it and shoot a .1 110 group, no, it ain't that. It's the guys that are sitting there going, this thing ain't shooting at 300 yards or 400 yards because it ran out of spin. It just won't shoot well past a certain yardage.
Couple points. Sorry, Paul.
Go ahead.
No, I just want to go off on a little tangent for a minute. Go ahead and finish what you're saying.
No, I'm just saying that, the reloading community here is what has brought about a lot of the changes in the ammunition and bullets that we have nowadays. Without us, they'd still be, producing, 795 a box of 22 250s with a 55 grain soft point on there, and if you were lucky, you got a 3-inch group out of it. And the hand loader was sitting there saying, we don't accept that, and this is what we want. And guys were sitting there with Corbin presses and turning out bullets that tried different things.
So I've done the same thing. Because I can make my own 22 caliber and my own 357 caliber bullets.
Okay.
Anyway, let's take a little detour for a second, if you don't mind, gents. Chris, I want to point out that VemGem is one of our good friends from down under, the great land down under. And we just have a new listener. Well, he's not new, but he's been listening to us for 2 years. His name is Odor Sigurdsson. He's from Iceland, of all places. He's been in the chat talking to Daniel Anderson. I just wanted to give that gentleman a shout out, and thank you very much for following the show. Odor, we have quite a few shows prior to the 2 years. Mike and I have been at this for 7 years now. Anyway, that's all I got.
Well, I think I know from talking to Hunt Shooter Off Road, I know he's over there with VemGem. Depending on the country you're in, you're going to be limited, because my talks with Rob, things that we have access here to in States, they can't by law have over there in Australia.
So, exactly.
So, okay. So whitetail, we've covered. Muleys, you're probably not going to be doing much different. I mean, they're a little bigger than whitetails, but not much. So now we're off to elk.
Well, for elk here in Wyoming, you can watch them all over the place, any given distance. If I'm thinking caliber selection for up here, I'm thinking more, especially if you're looking at distance at, say, a 700 yard, 800 yard shot, which is definitely feasible. I'm looking at a Magnum caliber. I'm looking at, 300 Win Mag, maybe a 300 Weatherby, and things like that on up. Because you're going, 300 Rum, maybe 300 Norma, something like that. I think 338 Win Mag's an option. Definitely the Lapuas. There's so many, but I'm going to lean towards those Magnums just because you're going to have that energy downrange to make sure that you're going to have the penetration. Because if you're shooting, say a bull elk at distance and you hit that thing in the shoulder, you want to make sure you have enough energy that it's going to punch through that bone.
Right. Because you're not going to, you're talking 600-700 yards that's going to be a heck of a problem for a follow-up shot.
Well, first off, you're looking at a difference of a big whitetail deer is going to weigh what, 250, right?
Yeah, a big one.
A big one, okay. And the next so you go up to an elk, and now you're looking at 800
pounds.
Okay. That's a whole lot more animal to deal with.
Right.
Okay. So now we have to sit down and we have to look at bullet construction.
Yep.
And we have to look at the expansion factor of the bullet. In other words, what velocity the bullet is going to expand at. And this is the responsibility as a hunter to know that if I'm going to take a 700-yard shot at a game animal, that the bullet will do what I need it to do
at that distance and that's at the speed it's at when it gets there, because it could be all great and fabulous that you're looking at something that's moving at 3,500 FPS and it's got 4,000 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle. But if it's a big, fat, heavy bullet, and by the time it gets out to 700 yards, it's down to subsonic, and it's, you're talking like, 900 foot-pounds of energy.
Right.
900 might still be enough. But I don't want to take a chance.
No, the
not on something like an elk.
Right. 1,500 is what I consider,
right.
Is what I'm looking at for elk.
Yeah, for minimum energy.
Right. So, I've hunted elk before. I've shot them. I use a 7 mag with a 175 grain Nosler partition. And the reason I use a Nosler partition is because even though it's kind of like a cup and core, the nose of the bullet is soft enough to expand at 500 yards. Okay. Now 500 yards is my limit on elk. That's me. People can shoot farther, but with a 7 mag, that is the limit I would take it out to. And knowing the bullet will perform if it hits bone or whatever at 500 yards. And you just have to, you as a hunter have to make that decision. Is that bullet going to work?
Oh, I think you kind of touched base on something, Paul, is what is the shooter comfortable at? Because, any shooter could go get a 3.38 Lapua or 50 cal, which you could shoot at distance. But if you can't hit that vitals area at distance, do you need to be shooting at 700-800 yards? You might want to stick to that 200 yard or 300 yard shot.
Yeah. I don't know how many, if you watched other hunters shoot game animals and that, but some of them I would rather let the guide shoot the animal than than watch them struggle to try to put a bullet onto a game animal.
And don't get me wrong, I am perfectly fine at taking a shot at that distance, knowing I have faith in my ability. But trust me, if I could take that 150, 200 yard shot, I'll take that all day, all night. One, the older I get, I don't want to pack that big monster animal out any further than I have to.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I went on a Wyoming antelope, not a Wyoming, a New Mexico antelope hunt. Okay. It was tags and everything else. And the New Mexico head of the DNR was out with us, and they were passing magazines back and forth between us and the pickup truck to load for him because he couldn't hit anything. All right. Finally, the guide cornered the antelope in between a fence and the pickup truck and another fence. Kicked the door open as the antelope went to get by. The antelope hit the door of the truck, fell down, and the guy pulled the guy out of the truck and told him to shoot the antelope. Okay, this is the head of the DNR.
That's disgusting.
All right, so now
you can't call that ethical. Guy like that, he's totally irresponsible. I'm sorry.
I'm not. I'm just telling you what I saw. Okay.
No, Paul.
And,
I'm not criticizing your commentary at all.
You know,
I'm just trying to tear up that.
When somebody is handing you magazines to load with 30-06 cartridges, and he's got 5 boxes of fucking 30-06 in his pack, and you're sitting there dropping 5 rounds into a 7.42 and handing it to him and say shoot, and you can't, you just watch dust fly all over, and then animal takes off again.
Yep.
So
I don't blame you for getting furious, Paul.
And I ain't blaming the guide.
No.
Okay.
No.
The guy got pissed off. The shooter. Okay. But the guide was sitting there going, "This is the head of the DNR for New Mexico, and this is what I got to put up with." How is he going to be looked at, by by the DNR if he can't get him this animal?
Exactly. That's a political move right there.
Right.
His license, his livelihood depends upon getting that poor antelope that's been cornered. I mean, to bat it with a door of a truck, God. Mike, if you want to take that kind of crap out, my commentary.
Chris will be editing it, so.
Okay, well, if you think it belongs to Chris, leave it. If you don't, I understand.
I can't argue with you guys on that because, I mean, heck, I've got friends that are guides that when they talk to people, they ask them, well, what do you plan on hunting with? And if they say, well, we're going to go hunt elk with a 6mm, yeah, they'll tell them flat out, no, if you don't come with a minimum of this, and I've got friends that if they even hear about stuff like Paul was talking about, they'll be calling everybody under the sun up. What is this and why are you doing this?
Mm-hmm.
No excuses.
One-day hunt. That's all it was. It was a one-day hunt.
Yep.
He was there, got it, and got out that afternoon. And I knew the guide because I'd hunted elk with him once before. And fair chase antelope is because New Mexico has got big antelope as far as horn, and that's what I wanted. And we had talked about it and everything else, and he told me, in the morning, you want to go with us? And I said, yeah, I'll go with you. How hard can it be to shoot? The guy was just going to take a normal antelope. I mean, they ain't hard. They ain't hard if you can hit them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't hit them, you shouldn't be out there hunting them.
Mm-hmm.
But to digress, this is what we put up with politically and everything else in different states to hunt. And like Chris said, that people find out he was not reappointed to his position the next year.
Good.
You know,
Yeah, really.
but it hurts all of us.
Yeah.
You
There's a
know?
comment in the chat that I think that a lot of guides, outfitters, and stuff should take a look at. Some countries you need to pass a shooting test before they issue you a hunting license, like a moose hunt. So that's from Spudman76. Thanks, Spud.
When I was in the military and I was stationed in Germany, I took the hunting test to hunt wild boar over there.
Yeah.
Okay. And you had to pass the hunting, you know, the not only the shooting test, but you had to be able to tell what kind of poop was on the ground in order to do it.
Yep.
You know, so it was not just a, you know, it was, what was it? It was like a 6-week course to take before I could get a hunting license.
Wow.
Okay. You know, and then they get you out at you know 0400, and they get you in the blind. The guy hands you your gun, and you look at it, and it's got a scope on it that's the size of a milk jug. You know, you look through it, and you can see everything. You know, you know. It was a Swarovski 8x56, okay, on a drilling. And
Nice.
You know, and that's what you hunted with. So, and it was a ritual. It was, you got up in the morning, you dressed in your greens, and you went out with your hat and everything else. And if you were lucky and, you know, you shot something, that, you know, they had a ritual that you know, went through. You know, you put the last twig into its mouth of what it's eaten. You know, you take care of it and everything else, and you don't get the meat. Okay. That was the thing there. You did not get the meat. That went to the owner of the land.
Yeah, makes sense. There was a comment from Fuzzy Fork 8 that I wanted to bring up earlier. Said our forefathers did not sit down and worry about feet per second or bullet weight. They just got closer. They did not like to trail any more than we do today. It's a valid comment, but at the same time, it's not. And that has to do with the fact that they didn't always get closer. If you look at what they did to buffaloes, they just got more powder behind it. That's why you went from 45-70 to 90 to 110. Then you went to 50, 90, 110, 130, 150. They kept making them bigger so they could shoot them from farther away. So,
well, there were two things to that.
Yeah.
You would shoot them farther away. They wouldn't hear the sound as well. Okay. Yep. So you could shoot more of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that was a planned genocide of the animal so we could take over the
right.
Reduce the problems of the natives in Chris's state.
Yep. Yeah, so it was a twofold thing.
Right. You know, and, you know, they'd shoot them, they'd leave them there, and then somebody would come by and they'd pick up the bones and the, you know, cape, whatever they wanted, and go from there. Most of the meat just sat there.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it was a sport. I mean, you know, there were trains that they actually had trains that would take people out.
Yep.
And set trains up to do that. And so they didn't know how well they shot or not. You know, but anyhow, back to our elk. We're sitting there. Chris has got his 338 set up on his bipod. He's got his scope set, and he's good to whatever he feels comfortable with. What kind of bullet you going to use, Chris?
My hunting round for my Lapua, I use a 270 grain for the long distance for elk. If I know, given on where I'm gonna actually hunt, if I know the terrain and I know, say, I'm not gonna get much over 700 yards, I will probably drop down to maybe a 225 grain, or look at a different caliber, maybe like a 300 or rum or something like that, and drop down to somewhere around that, maybe heavy for beat or heavy for caliber bullet. So yeah, I'd probably stick somewhere around that. I mean, that's what I'm comfortable with. But like I said, I kind of like to have a little bit more energy
Sure.
if I'm going at that distance.
But are you going to use a cup and core, or are you going to?
Oh, I will use a cup and core.
Okay.
I will typically use a cup and core style bullet for my hunting. I've had good luck my entire life using those.
Okay.
I've done match bullets, but I typically will stick to a bullet that is designed for hunting. I kind of look at it like this. The manufacturers, whether you're talking Berger, Sierra, pick one, they've got the money to put into the research. And if every bullet was created equal, we wouldn't have the selection of stuff that we have today. That's just my thought process.
Right.
Which is interesting because I've been to places like Sierra where I've watched them draw lead for bullets, and they sit down and they pull a tag off of it, and the lead block that comes in and force it through with hydraulic pressure through a die to pull wire out for it, and it's all how much antimony is in it, how hard the lead is, and everything else. And they draw this to put into their jackets for manufacturing their bullets, and how thick the jacket is and everything else that goes into this, and the different number of bullets that they make. It's just amazing that they can keep track of everything and all the testing that they have to do in order for it to work. Every lot of jacket material comes in has to be tested. Because even though if you draw it down to the same as last one as this one, there are differences to how the bullet's gonna react.
Yep.
That's why I'm thinking that a lot of people are a lot of hunters are going to start moving towards these single copper based projectiles because of the known reaction that they're going to get out of the bullet. In other words, it's going to open up, all the way to, say the bullet reaches, 1,500 feet per second, and it's still going to open up so it has a good cutting diameter at that velocity and range.
Oh, aren't those kind of bullets called monolithic?
Monolithic, yes, sir.
It's not to be confused like with a brass bullet, which is much harder bullet. It's also considered to be what they call a solid core. It doesn't expand; it just simply punches through. The monolithic bullets the soft are made from a softer copper alloy that expands and works itself around a lot like lead does, but it retains the weight a lot better.
The reason I don't use monolithic is because there are certain bullets that are made out there that are monolithic that are used for dangerous game hunting that are that work that way, Jim.
Yes, sir.
Okay. They wood lay bullets. I don't know if anybody remembers them.
No.
They were big into monolithic solids that would do a good job of penetrating all the way through. Even though Hornady at the time was making what they called a solid bullet, which was a solid bullet by definition was a round nose bullet, but it still had a lead core. Okay, in other words, like a full metal jacket. The base of it was exposed. Hornady had a problem in the 80s that their 400 grain, their 450 grain bullets would rivet. Okay, which was something that they didn't want to happen, but it would.
It would rivet,
like a rivet, like flatten out. Okay. So that round nose goes in and then
flattens out. Okay,
flattens itself out and it stops. Okay.
Ooh, that'd be a hell of an impact.
Right, but it stopped.
The problem is the impact is on the outside, not down inside where it needs to be.
Right, and it wouldn't penetrate well enough to do a good job. So there was a lot of issues with that. If you notice, Sierra does not make a big bullet in that type of situation. All theirs are cup and core target. I'll call them target type bullets. Same thing with Berger. They don't make a bullet that is made for that type of hunting.
Okay, can we get back into the different game that's out there in Wyoming?
Sure.
Over to you, Chris. Don't you guys have a furry critter out there that's got big long teeth and big long claws, and he goes long hair, and not necessarily long tail, hibernates in the wintertime?
I can't believe you're saying that about my wife. I'm going to tell her that. She's got to track you down.
You, my friend, you are a shithead, full of it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we do have wolves.
No, I meant bear.
Oh yeah, we do got bears. You can hunt the black bear certain areas. I know, obviously, being close to Yellowstone, we have grizzlies. The governor, was it last year or right before COVID, had worked and was opening up. They were looking at opening up limited number of tags for a bear. But then, of course, one of those unique groups went to Montana and got some federal judge to file an injunction and all that lovely stuff. And so we're still trying to fight that back. But yeah, we do have those lovely furry critters.
If you were going to legally hunt them and ethically hunt them, what would you use? Chris, you.
I'm definitely not doing something light. I want to make sure they can penetrate. Because I've never hunted bear, but from my friends that I have throughout the states, from my understanding, they are definitely hard to track. So I'm definitely gonna, because the fur will actually mat up and clot that blood so you can't track them. So I'm gonna lean towards kind of similar to what we were probably talking with the elk, those bigger magnums. If I'm looking at a little bit further out. If you're going closer in, kind of like you guys were talking last week, any one of those calibers that was mentioned, the 45, 70, something like that, you're going to probably be fine if you're not going further out. But given the nature of those lovely critters, I don't want to give that thing any chance after I tick it off to come visit me up close and personal.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're talking what? 300 rum?
I would say 300 rum, maybe a 375. because obviously that's dangerous game. So I'm, yeah, maybe a 375 H&H, a 416 Rigby, maybe.
416 Remington.
Yeah, 416 Rem. Yeah.
We've got a
338.
we have a really nice sour in the library in that right now.
330. You start with the 338 Winchester, the 340 Weatherby, and you move up from there.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and those are all magnums, and they're, and if you're hunting the larger brown, or if you're hunting the larger browns, I think the 375 is a better all around gun for that.
Yeah, I agree. 338 to start out. What about wolves? What do you? I mean, they're big dogs, right? Nice and furry and puppy. You can pet them in the wild.
Wolves
sure.
wolves would be whitetail.
Yeah. I mean, wolves, you're going to, like Mike's saying, what you're going to probably use on a whitetail, stuff like that, you're going to be perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, you're talking 100-pound to 150-pound animal.
Okay.
So, yeah, 30-06, 308. You can work with those 270, 7mm Remington, 280. You're good with that. He's also got moose there too.
Yep.
Have you put in for a moose tag yet?
No, because growing up in Maine, of course, we called them swamp donkeys up there because you usually found them in the swamps. And it's not going to be that far of a shot. And I just never was really interested in that. But you could probably, if you're going to hunt moose, you could probably get away with, heck, people did it in Maine, 308, 30-06. So, Nick could dig out some of his milsurp stuff and probably be fine with that too. I mean, it's not like an elk where you're going to have to reach out a little bit further. You're probably going to be relatively close. So I don't think you'd have to go fully up to the magnums.
Yeah, there's definitely. So, yeah. Well, I think that about wraps it up, gang.
There was a mention here about recoil in magnums.
Yep.
And I just like to put something to it. A well-designed gun does not kick hard. Okay. I now my 7 mag is in a fiberglass stock. It shaves some weight off of it, makes it lighter, but it's got a big recoil pad on it, and fiberglass does give. Okay, so as it comes, that I've seen that stock compress in photographs and everything else. So no, it isn't. It isn't as bad as what people think. I've shot 378 Weatherby Magnum. There's a gun that likes to give a little bit of recoil. 458s, yeah. We used to practice with bowling pins with 458s up in Wisconsin when my friend had his place up there. Hand load everything. Okay, so you just you know, it was expensive, but then again, you know, you practice with it. And recoil can be managed. People have to just understand it's if you're going to be a once a year shooter and you want to go do some of this stuff, well, you're not going to have, you know, either very good luck or you get maybe the one that that does get chewed on a little bit.
Yep.
But a good hunter goes out and practices with what he's going to be using, and learns to overcome.
Well, I think one thing ties into that, Paul, is what you're spot on about is you have to get out and shoot, because how are you ethically going to shoot game at long distance if you don't know what your equipment will do?
Yeah. Well, it's like anything else. I mean, you know, I give somebody a target rifle. I said, here, you know, and you know, I don't teach you how to shoot it. You ain't going to do very well, right? But I give you a target rifle and I set you down and I go through and teach you how to shoot it. Then you're gonna learn, and then you put enough rounds to practice through it, then you become proficient. As long as you can stay away from the bad habits.
Yep.
So, but, I agree with you, Chris. I mean, you know, you gotta be out there and you have to shoot. And the one thing that us as reloaders, we have the ability to remanufacture our ammunition, tailor it to what we're going to do, and have the ability to go out there, even within the tight market that it is nowadays, to put enough rounds downrange to stay proficient in our shooting skills.
Mm-hmm.
Well, also as hand loaders in a perfect world, we can get away whatever what you want to go hunt for. You can get away from the standard calibers, whether it's, and you can start looking at wildcats and doing your own thing if you wanted to experiment with stuff and really venture off into the stuff and really get crazy.
Whoa! What's that fancy word you put out there? Wildcat? We talking about chasing women? No, can't be. This is a reloading show. Chris, you started it. What's a wildcat?
Well, lack of a better description, a non-typical caliber that isn't manufactured by a normal factory ammunition company.
You mean like necking a 30-30 case down, put a 22 caliber bullet in it?
Or a 50 caliber down to a 17 caliber, necking it down.
That'd be a hell of a wildcat. I've seen pictures of that.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen pictures of that in the Reloading Man, the Reloading podcast.
Yep.
But anyway, yeah, 17 caliber air gets split and loud and boomer go fast.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Yep.
now the same police officer I was talking about, he was telling me too that he was issued training ammo, and his famous quote was, "If you want to know your gun and shoot it well, you have to train with it," and that's exactly what Elk Blood said. AKA, don't be a sissy and train with the rifle. Shoot your damn gun if you're going to worry about it. If you're worried about recoil, shoot it and get used to it. Don't shoot it off the bench. Shoot it offhand. Shoot it sitting. Shoot it prone. That'll get you the recoil.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. Shooting off a bench can give you enough recoil, and you know.
That's true, but the point is, shooting off. You're right. I've been hammered myself. I've hammered myself with my 308.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't holding the rifle correctly. Well, that was with a cast bullet, 180 grain cast bullet, and it nailed me good. But anyway, the point is, shooting from a bench isn't real word shooting like a hunting scenario.
Well, here's a big difference. I have a 308, okay, one of them that weighs in at close to 20 pounds, all right?
Oh, God.
And then I can sit down and say, okay, and here's a 308 that weighs 8 pounds.
Yep.
All right? So which way you want to go?
Well, there's also things you can do to mitigate recoil. Like if you've got a barrel without a muzzle device, throw a suppressor on it, throw a muzzle brake. That's going to help reduce the recoil.
You bet. But don't forget, you got to shoot that thing once you modify it.
Oh yeah,
It's with the modification in place.
Sure, but what he's saying is there's a way to get around it, but if I sit down and say, oh yeah, I went out and I practiced a lot with one of my 308s. Yeah, okay, so I went out and practiced a lot with a 20-pound 308. Then I go out and I take it out to the deer stand, and I miss a deer because my 8-pounder went off, and it all the way. Okay,
Here's one for you, Paul. Here's one for you.
Yeah, I know.
Jordan Rangan, that was a good one. So was that one, Spudman. Spudman put up when Nick hunts. I wonder if he has a bayonet on his rifle. And Jorgen, Paul has a sore shoulder from shooting his 20-pound 308. It ain't easy lifting it in and out of the truck. And Michael Dunn actually has a good comment too. More clothes helps. In other words, wear your hunting attire.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you can't wear hunting attire, there are still things to do. PAST makes a pad for your shoulder.
Yep.
Okay.
Recoil pad.
A sissy pad. The old way we used to do with the 458s and that kind of stuff was to put a bag over your shoulder to practice with. So the 5-pound shot bag up here and hold it up there. It would help dissipate the recoil from the gun. This is some of the stuff that we used to do to. I lived in Illinois. We didn't have a place where we could go shoot every day. So we went out once a month and you went to practice. You had to practice with what so you got good enough to what you could do. There are ways around it so you can shoot longer and that. But yeah, standing and on your hind legs and shooting, learning to rest off of a tree or something else. All these things lead up to a better hunter and a better shooter. Not all of us can sit down at a bench and at a deer stand and with a bench, or open the bathroom window, on the trailer and shoot an elk at 500 yards, sitting on the toilet seat.
I only plan on doing that from the hot tub this year once I put it in.
There you go. Make sure the rifle's stainless steel or Cerakote.
I was like, I got my Cerakote part of the business. I'll just Cerakote everything and be good to go.
The hard part when you're shooting from the hot tub, Chris, though, is that the heat from the water fogs the scope up. So you gotta treat it with Rain-X.
I was thinking, how am I going to shoot one-handed while I'm holding the beer in the other hand?
Well, that's easy. You got the hot tub to rest it off of. You got to fold the cover up.
And on that note, Mike, come on, help us out here, please. I muted you.
Why did you mute me?
Because you were making racket. You were rasping. You were doing this shit.
Oh. All right, then.
Thanks for adding to my editing there, Jim.
You're welcome, buddy. Anytime.
So Michael Hurtnick says, Mike, are you getting primers in? If so, what's the pricing? We just had some BR4s in, which are bench rest small rifle. They were $13 for 100. Otherwise, we had some Federals in before that, and they were about $8 100.
That's a good price. $8 100, or no, the VR4 1300. That's 130 a brick. Ouch.
Yeah, or $80 a brick. Yeah, no, not a good price. So
What were the Federals? 215s, 210s,
had some
205.
small pistol primers,
Oh, okay.
large pistol primers. No match, just the standards. So, but yeah, they're anticipating higher costs again this spring. So, primers are going to go up again, kids. So, yeah, that's kind of that. So, I mean, eventually it's going to settle. Plus, like I said, there's supposed to be 3 primer producing plants coming online within the next 12 months. So that's going to help. Because at some point in time, we're going to get back to the market being flooded with primers.
Be a good thing.
And the prices are going to drop.
And Jim will stockpile again.
They're not going to go as low as they were because the material costs have gotten higher. But yeah, that's kind of the status of that. So I wanted to talk about Primary Arms. They got some new optics coming out. So swing over to primaryarms.com. They're giving away some. So swing over, like I said, primaryarms.com. Check out their optics. They've got a giveaway. Check that out. So some new cool stuff coming there. Like I said, like we were talking about earlier, this time next week, Nick and I will be in much warmer Las Vegas. We'll have gotten range day done on Monday, and we'll do a report Monday night about that. Tuesday, there isn't really anything going on for SHOT Show, so I plan on doing the podcast still next week, so I don't know what we're going to talk about yet. We'll figure something out. Then Wednesdays, the actual SHOT Show starts in earnest, and we'll do some stuff from the show floor via Facebook Live.
Don't forget your time difference out there.
Yeah.
You'll be behind 1 hour at least.
2 hours.
From where you from Central?
Yep.
Okay, you'll be on Rocky Mountain.
No, Pacific.
Oh, excuse me.
Rocky Mountain's 2 hours behind you.
Oh, excuse me.
Silly.
Yeah, you're right. And Pacific is 3. Where Trumbo used to be.
Yep. I think he stayed in the Pacific, though, by moving to Idaho.
On the last note, I'd like to throw out there a little shout out to my friend Jorgen Ragan. Is the best bench rest I can give you is lower your seat so your back is straight. If you're angled leaning forward, if you're angled into the rifle, you eat every ounce of force coming back at you. He's right.
Yep.
Either that or put a lead sled under it.
Sleds do work.
It does
Don't
work.
do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Well, I have to disagree with you, Mr. Nelson. I use my lead sled religiously.
Okay.
But please tell me why. Tell me why you don't like a lead sled.
I don't like a lead sled because I've seen too many guns damaged by it.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, it's news to me.
What size screws are you using in your scope? They're probably 640s, right?
I don't know. To tell you the
Yeah.
truth,
So a lot of times I've seen those shear because of the lead sled.
Because there's no, it's taking the force of the recoil.
Right.
there you go, right there.
Okay.
Right there. Spudman 76 just threw it out there. Lead sled will break scopes. In other words, knock a scope loose.
Yeah.
Which
would make sense if you've got all. I use my lead sled, but I don't even put a 25-pound bag on there.
No, I don't either.
So
I'm just saying this is I don't.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And some of the expensive wood that's out there, the
Yep.
The fancy walnut.
Yep.
Will not take the recoil of a lead sled.
Yeah.
Because of what it takes to start.
Yep.
The sled moving.
Well, the thing is too, walnut is considered a hard wood, but trust me, I've cut enough of it for firewood when I was cutting brush. It's not. It's almost as soft as pine.
Yeah. Well, it depends upon
Yeah.
where they get the wood from. I mean, you got California, you got wherever it's from, but you get into Turkish walnut and that, it's hard.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Pennsylvania black walnut.
So.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Right. No, I don't like lead sleds. No.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff out there, guys, that, front shooting rests, rear bags, everything out there that are a whole lot better than, putting it on a lead sled. And if you think that it's, they're cheap, I'll give you that. Okay. They're cheap, but spend $300 and buy a good front rest, spend another $150 and put it on a good rear bag, and you'd be surprised what happens to your shooting and your ability to shoot.
You could even look at getting a good quality tripod.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a stable platform.
Again, we're talking shooting from a fixed position as opposed to shooting from in the field.
Yeah, but
we're back to training though.
But even with a tripod, you can, a good tripod with an Arca rail, and you spend a good, $600 on a tripod with an Arca rail adapter on it. You don't even some of the time you don't even have to touch the scope, the rifle to make a shot other than the trigger. It holds it so steady. So there's a lot of things that go towards what Chris said there. And Elkblood also put out there, he's seen some cracked stocks at the wrist with bigger rifles. Okay, with sleds. And yes, Michael Dunn, bags are better.
And Jorgen Rangan's got another good comment too. Hold on to the darn rifle.
Yeah, your hunting rifles will change POI if you're not holding on to the forearm or the stock, because of the way the gun is, and you are set up on a bench. If you're not holding on to it, here's this gun that's up here, sitting up on your shoulder here, and the gun goes, hey, boom, and it does this rotation. Okay, that's what happens when in recoil, it rotates. No, you get down, you hold it, and you shoot. You're not shooting a 30-pound rifle or a 22-pound rifle like they do in F class, where they can push it up, put their shoulder behind the stock, and pull the trigger, and you watch the gun come back 3 inches in recoil, but it's still a 22-pound fucking rifle. Your 8-pound and 9-pound 30-06s are not going to behave the same way. And if you got a crooked stock on it, oh my gosh, it's even worse.
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, we got a lot of spammers tonight.
Yeah, I just got 3 of them.
Yep. So yeah, like I was saying, Primary Arms has got some new optics. Swing over there, check them out. Register for their giveaway. It's always fun to win free stuff. So check out Patriot Patch Company, patriotpatch.co. Check out their new patches. They got new stuff coming out all the time. And so we'll get it back into that weeds area we were in towards the end of the show here. My kid's got a dead battery I got to go help him with. So otherwise, we could sit on here for another couple hours talking about that. But, we'll get into that stuff that can affect the rifle because that's important. If you can't shoot, you can do all the effort you want on your loads and it's not going to make a difference. So. And on that note, keep your brass shiny.
Jump on the
Shoot
middle
smart.
short bus. Oh, sorry, Chris.
Shoot smarter, not harder.
Grandpa told me, don't listen to your mama. Violence does solve problems.
Support the Second Amendment, 2A all the way.
And if you're struggling, 1-800-273-8255. Give them a call. They've got lots of people to help out, get you the help you need. Accepting help isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. So thanks to everybody that tunes in, and we'll see you next week.
Hit that like button, guys, please. Bye.